Glamour magazine just published their list of Women of the Year because, of course, there cannot be just one Woman of the Year. It has to be a group effort. Of course, women would not like the idea of an award where only one person can win. That would threaten their egos. But of all people, Rachel Zegler somehow ended up on this list. Rachel Zegler, I would love to know what she did to deserve the name Woman of the Year. And I guess we'll find out. But it says on this list, since 1990, Glamour has honored the world's most extraordinary women, trailblazers, rule breakers, visionaries, and champions who have defined each year. Meet the class of 2025.
So we do have the full class here. Let's go through it.
That features Tyla, Demi Moore, Pat McGrath, the famous makeup artist, Rachel Zegler, of course, Miss Rachel, the children's entertainer, and the entire WNBA. Not any particular WNBA player, just all of them.
Look, you couldn't.
All of them.
You couldn't have like whittled it down to like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
We all know it would have been Angel Reese anyway.
Yeah, they wouldn't have given it to Caitlin Clark.
But yeah, just all of the women in the WNBA. They're all Women of the Year. So I went to their long interview with Rachel Zegler. It was actually conducted by her friend and colleague Helen Mirren, who she met on Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Yes, they did.
They, of course, did not mention that Zachary Levi had anything to do with that movie.
There is some plausible deniability there. Mary made the point when we were prepping the show that they mentioned Lucy Liu.
Yeah, it says, which also starred Lucy Liu, period.
They didn't, but they didn't mention Zachary Levi. But because it's a women on women rah thing, I don't think that it's necessarily because of Zachary Levi. They didn't mention, I guess, Megan Good or Seth, or not Seth. What's the Adam Brody? He's in that movie, right? I think Adam Brody was in that movie. The point being, they didn't mention any of the other people. They just mentioned Lucy Liu because she was like co-bad guys with Helen Mirren in that.
Well, brace yourself, guys, because...
Sorry, bad girls.
Rachel Zegler in this interview says the words pussy power. She does.
And I asked you, I said, is there some type of rule now that women in Hollywood have to be like intentionally vulgar to like own people or something, or to like is the idea supposed to be that I'm still supposed to imagine we live in a world where female decorum makes that shocking? Because that's not the way it is.
I'll just say it's charming when someone like Jamie Lee Curtis does it. It's not charming when Rachel Zegler does it, and I don't know why.
It's not charming when she does it. It's only charming if Margot, whoever that lady was in Britain, if she was to swear. The lady from Harry Potter. There's like...
No, I find it incredibly charming when Jamie Lee Curtis swears.
It's not charming.
I think that you have to earn the right to be an odious, antisocial freak.
Only J.K. Rowling is allowed, and J.K. Rowling doesn't need to because she's so literate and
Rachel
so well-spoken.
Zegler, on the other hand, has not earned that credit yet. They say from West Side Story to Snow White to Evita, the rising star is building a powerful platform, and she isn't afraid to use it.
That's the long and the short of it, right? Between her and Miss Rachel, it's that anything you do should be tempered with activism.
She notes at the beginning of the interview, I have not necessarily had the easiest time in the industry from the word go. That's an understatement. And they mention, of course, that she's starring in Evita.
Wasn't West Side Story like her first movie? Like
West Side Story was the first.
So she went from Steven Spielberg, right?
Yeah.
So she debuted with Steven Spielberg and was a Disney princess within 3 years. Miss me with that nonsense.
Seems pretty great for someone your age, actually. Audiences descended in droves to watch her belt the musical's signature song, now restaged for the public on the London Palladium balcony. To say that hearts have been stolen is an understatement. It's hard to think of a more dramatic reversal of public opinion since Princess Diana came out in the revenge dress. So now we're just supposed to believe that overnight Rachel Zegler is publicly beloved by all.
That's not true.
That never happened. But
you're lying.
I guess they would think that if they're theater kids. So then they're talking about her rise to fame and her YouTube channel that she started back in 2011. And then her getting her big break with Steven Spielberg. They say it's her casting as the titular princess in Disney's reboot Snow White that truly positioned Zegler as a new kind of star. Young, outspoken, and unwilling to kowtow to the parts of the Hollywood machine that might prefer women to sit down, shut up, and be grateful.
They want, people want the men to do that too. They want the men to sit down, shut up, and be grateful.
We do. It's not actually just women. First came the right-wing backlash against someone of Latina descent. Her mother was born in the U.S. to Colombian immigrants, playing a princess with skin as white as snow. Then Zegler was pilloried for describing Prince Charming as a guy who literally stalks Snow White. When she posted Free Palestine on X after the release of the film's trailer, she was harangued for that too, and was frequently blamed for the film's stumble at the box office.
So she did literally everything wrong. She literally did every marketing foible that one could do, and I'm supposed to celebrate because she has the right politics.
And they also failed to mention countless other examples that ruined her reputation. For instance, saying F you to Trump and all of his supporters and hoping that they never know peace. They didn't mention that. I guess that just didn't come up.
That doesn't sound like somebody who has a YouTube channel about hugs.
Yeah, her username on YouTube to this day is Rachel Zegler Loves Hugs. That's literally the person who has "be kind" in their bio.
Hugs of sadness, hugs of anger.
It costs $0 to be a decent effing human.
It also costs $0 to be a dick.
She says, honestly, I'm a duck. It rolls right off my back these days. Her candor hasn't been dented. This is a woman who clearly feels and cares deeply about the world. How exhausting that must be.
Look, okay, maybe I'm the bad guy here, but I don't think you can care deeply about the entire world.
No, this part is going to really piss you off.
I don't think that it's possible for you to care about to care to the level that they claim to about people you've never met.
That's not psychologically possible. But this part is really going to piss you off, I promise. Zegler still thinks it's important for actors to speak freely. We just need to normalize our hearts not having boundaries. There's this idea that we as public figures can't have thoughts or feelings because we're like paper dolls to the majority of the public.
Yeah.
And I guess she thinks that's unfair. Look, no one actually said that you can't have your own thoughts or feelings or political opinions or anything. Just don't share them on company time.
Yeah. And look, you're part of an industry that's going to pick sides either way. Certainly, Gal Gadot is outspoken about her support on the opposite side of the aisle of you for Israel, but Gal Gadot has a lot more goodwill built up in the industry and has a better understanding of how to come across as a likable person most of the time. It kind of shows in the fact that she can't really act that well, and she's still hired a lot.
Right.
Like, she's kind of like on her own path, similar to how Sydney Sweeney is now, where they're not really great actors. They don't need to be. They have a specific public image that works for them. And if Gal Gadot can survive the Imagine debacle of 2020, you know,
anything's possible.
That proves to you that goodwill matters. But if you've built up no goodwill with anyone, if you take every opportunity to stumble in the exact wrong way, like I said, most people, they didn't care about the political statements that came after the Snow White statements. And we've also gone into detail that I don't think that was necessarily all Rachel Zegler's fault. I think she was being fed from Disney about how it was going to be a girl boss movie.
Right.
And she was leaning into it because that's what Disney was going to do with the film. It went through 10,000 rewrites between when they did that D23 conference and when it came out. The problem is even if that's what Disney was feeding you, it came off extremely unlikable anyways, because it was full of youthful bravado and arrogance. And when you're stepping into the role of a character that's existed for damn near 100, well, I mean, the Disney version was like 37 or something, so near 100 years, people are going to want to see a certain level of humility, a certain level of gratitude and grace. You showed exactly zero of that in any sense. And when you did later on, it came off as fake because it seemed like somebody from Disney sat you down and said, it's like when, okay, I'll hold the men accountable too, since they're making this about gender. When Tom Cruise comes out before the movie with his kind of dead eyes and he says, I love you guys for coming out to see the movies. Thank you so much. You know, it means the world to us that we get to do this for a living. I'm like, you know what? I'm willing to be lied to. Because I like him. Because he comes across well to me on screen. He puts in a lot of effort. And he sacrifices a lot for the movie he makes. When Seth Rogen does it, I'd rather choke on a kernel of popcorn than attempt to take him seriously because Seth Rogen is a piece of shit. So Seth Rogen gets no quarter. You get no quarter. Your ability to build up an image with the public is 110% you, your agent, and your manager's responsibility. If you can't do that, that doesn't make you powerful. It doesn't make you special because people don't like you. It seems like there's this instinct now in Hollywood, specifically with women, to say because people don't like you, that makes them special. People don't get liked every day of the year. Men, women, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
And never once has she freely addressed the comments she made that were contemptuous of Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
Nor has any journalist asked her to. It's still just the same repetition of people were mad at her for being brown-skinned and, like, supporting Palestine, which isn't the truth.
Okay, so there was people that got backlash when she initially got hired. They're like...
Okay, but that's backlash against Disney, not
yes,
her. And the Little Mermaid race swap was obviously way more of an extreme example of that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not only race swapping the character, it's also a ginger character, which has a lot of baggage, and the actress is black. But Halle Bailey, being that actress in question, people don't even remember her name at this point, but she was a very nice, pleasant, cordial, professional person on the promotional run for that movie, as sucky as it was.
I don't think they
realized.
realized.
No one remembered it after the fact. She never had any sort of hate sent her way. Rachel Zegler invited the hate that she received.
I don't know if she did. I am sure Halle Bailey got some messages. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter. It is your job as somebody who's about to shepherd forward a brand worth hundreds of millions of dollars to take those comments and deal with it. And people will have more respect for you if you are able to take them. They always want to talk about, we talk a lot about how they expect women to be like men, you know, stoically taking on the responsibilities of that character, which means the good and the bad, is your job. And the more likable you make yourself to audiences, the more they're willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. And I actually point that out a lot of times. In this space, people talk about YouTubers wanting to hate everything. From what I see a lot of time, people love separating the art from the artist because they want to be like, you know what? Don't like him as a person, but this was a pretty good job. This movie was pretty good. They do that with Pedro Pascal. People did that with Eddington and other things that Pedro Pascal has done. They're like, look, I don't like the guy, but... Like, is he powerful because people hate him because he's annoying? Like, it's got nothing to do with gender. It doesn't.
For having opinions while being good at her job, she has been branded controversial by tabloids. What keeps her grounded despite all the noise? She says it's her love for the work. I am the one who showed up and did my work every day. Nobody can ever take that away from me. I made lifelong friends on that job.
Okay.
She says this of her experience on Snow White. That kind of family doesn't get dissipated by online discourse. And they then mention her friendship with Helen Mirren, who she met on Shazam. And they mention that Helen Mirren calls her Little Rachel. She says that she needed like a slice of humble pie from Helen Mirren, who says, you know, when I was your age, I was surviving meal to meal and doing theater work, and
I was
look
making
at you.
I was making EBT TikToks
Right?
when I was your age. Okay. So I started coming up with a list beforehand, before the show, of people who would have made, women who would have made suitable Women of the Year candidates that made more sense than Rachel Zegler. The number one on the list was Scarlett Johansson, who, with the success of Jurassic World this year, despite the fact that nobody remembers it, she became not just the highest grossing actress of all time, but the highest grossing actor, period, between all her Marvel roles and everything. I put Hailey Bieber on the list because she sold Road and became a billionaire pretty much overnight. Sydney Sweeney obviously was probably the most culturally relevant one, at least on our corner of the internet, the most culturally relevant woman when it came to Hollywood acting. And when it came to music, Sabrina Carpenter broke out this year and became her own star. And Taylor Swift, stacked up all the records again at the end of the year. All of these women make just as much, if not more, sense than Rachel Zegler. Now, if you had said to me, look, Snow White ended up making a ton of money at the box office in spite of all of this, then we could be having that discussion.
Sure.
But going to Broadway, where, that's to her credit, that's what she's best at, singing. And that's from two people. If I remember correctly, we both liked her Hunger Games movie. Thought she did great because her singing is her talent. That's what she's best at.
It was okay.
It was fun.
It was a good
There's just people that make more sense. There's being hated does not make you person of the year. If that was true, Donald Trump would be person of the year every year.
Well, he was
or
on the
Elon
cover
Musk would be person of the year every year.
He was on the cover of Time, right?
Yeah, with like a crappy photo with like his like chicken neck or whatever this is.
They put him on there. They put him on Time multiple iterations where he didn't look quite as bad. But yeah. Well, Helen Mirren just heaps praise on her for her resilience in response to the hate.
You said stuff that annoyed people and then put up with the backlash.
You're not a woman of the year because people hate you. You're a woman of the year because you're so strong in response to people hating you. Helen Mirren said, "You're 24. You've got many years of achievement and creativity ahead of you. To have had this experience so young could be dangerous in the sense of, well, of course I'm a star because look at me, but I know with you that's never going to happen. You were thrown into a very unfair deep end."
No, it's a deep end completely of her own making.
"You were made to confront and deal with things people twice your age would find difficult. You've had that experience and now it's in you. It's made you stronger, wiser." I don't think so. And then the love for you in that theater when I watched you. And then Rachel Zegler responded, "Every experience I've had so far has been such a wonderful lesson learned. I loved working on Snow White, and I love that film. I've seen it a few times, and it became #1 on streaming on Disney Plus."
So if you're
like
wondering, guys, let's.
So I know it. So this is her proof. So I know that it's celebrated.
So let's remove marketing from the equation. Snow White, supposedly not including marketing, cost like $270 million to make. It made $200 million at the box office. They split that 50% with domestic theaters, and even more of a percentage they lose if they're doing international. The movie lost hundreds of millions of dollars, especially once you include marketing. It was a flop. It was poorly conceived. She was set up to fail by stupid Disney executives whose job it is to know which way the wind is blowing in society, and sent her out there to dry. But even in the face of that, she handled it poorly, and that doesn't make her Woman of the Year. I'm sorry. She is young enough, however, to pivot. And she is young enough to reinvent herself. There is something that I would hope for society, in that we never lose love for the redemption arc or the comeback story. That doesn't and that does not require her to change her beliefs. It requires her to change her presentation and her ability to show a semblance of humility and respect for the audience.
Do you think it's ever too late to reinvent yourself, to rebrand?
No, I don't. Especially once you reach that level of fame. You reach a certain level of critical mass, and eventually, you can reinvent yourself in some way. You won't always win everyone back, but outside of the most heinous things, I think there's always the possibility for reinvention, especially when you're somebody like her who is so young.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen for her, but it's a possibility.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media, and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.